All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to tackle a massive idea, one that really gets to the core of who you think you are. Think of it like a strange missing persons case. And the missing person? It's your inner CEO. I mean, you feel like you're in the driver's seat, don't you? You're the CEO of your own mind, calling the shots, pulling all the levers. But what if that's just a feeling? What if that corner office in your brain is actually totally empty? Okay, so is anyone actually sitting in that chair? Our investigation has to start by questioning this whole idea of a single unified self. And you might be surprised, but our very first clue comes from a place you might not expect: ancient philosophy.
So let's go back in time. We're talking 2,500 years ago. A man named Agassavana gets up and publicly challenges the Buddha. And he's super confident. He basically says, look, everything about me, my body, my feelings, even my consciousness, that is myself.
Now the Buddha, totally calm, hits him back with this just as simple question, but it's absolutely devastating. He asks, okay, if all that stuff is really you, can you control it like a king rules his kingdom? Can you just decide, I want my body to be this way, and it just obeys?
And Agivasana just goes silent. He's cornered. He has to admit, no, I can't. He doesn't have that kind of king-like control over his own body or his feelings. A lot of the time, they just do what they want. And boom, right there. That's the first crack in this whole idea of an all-powerful self. Okay, so that ancient debate really set the stage. Now, let's jump forward 2,500 years. We're leaving philosophy behind and heading straight into the modern science lab for what you could call science's takedown of you. We're about to look at some super clever experiments that just completely dismantle this idea of an inner CEO.
So where's the first bit of evidence? Well, it comes from one of the most famous cases in all of neuroscience: split brain patients. These were people who, usually to treat severe epilepsy, had the connection between their left and right brain hemispheres surgically cut. Yeah, literally separated. And this is where it gets just wild. So researchers would flash a command, like walk, to only the patient's right brain. And sure enough, the person gets up and starts walking. But then they ask him, hey, why are you walking? And his left brain, which is where our language comes from, and it never saw the command, it doesn't say, I don't know. Nope. It just confidently makes something up, like, oh, I'm gonna get a soda. What this shows is just mind-blowing. The left side of our brain acts like what scientists call an interpreter. Its job isn't always to start the action. A lot of the time, its job is to just make up a good story after the action has already started, to explain why it happened. And the craziest part? It totally 100% believes its own stories. Okay. You might be thinking, but that's a split brain. That's not me. Fair enough. So what about the rest of us? Well, check out this classic experiment. Psychologists laid out 4 pairs of pantyhose. They asked shoppers to pick the best quality pair. Here's the kicker. They were all exactly the same, and yet people consistently picked the pair on the far right. So why? Why did they choose that one? When you look at the data, it's totally clear. The only thing that mattered was its position. People have this unconscious bias to pick things on the right. That was the real reason.
But here's the thing. That's not what they said. Not a single person said, oh, I picked it because it was on the right. No way. They invented these really specific reasons. Oh, the feel was superior, or I liked the weave, or the sheerness was better. They were making up totally logical sounding reasons for a choice they made unconsciously, and they had no idea they were doing it.
And this gets to the next level of what's going on. We don't just make up stories. We make up flattering stories. Our brains are hardwired to spin a narrative that makes us look good. It's like we're all constantly editing reality to be the hero of our own movie. You want proof? Get this. A study asked a 4-person academic team to privately estimate how much they each contributed to a paper they wrote together. When they added up the percentages, it came out to 140%, which is, impossible. It just shows we all deep down think we're doing most of the work. So this all leads to a massive question, right? Why? Why would evolution give us a brain that's so good at tricking itself? That's exactly what we're going to dig into next in what we're calling the brain's PR department. Let's just ask it straight up. If we're so deluded, why would natural selection build a brain like this? You'd think that seeing reality perfectly, with total clarity, would be a huge advantage for survival. But maybe not. The leading theory here is something called impression management, and it makes a ton of sense when you think about it. For social animals like us, it's way, way easier to convince other people that you're smart,
capable, and reliable if you've already convinced yourself first. Lying is hard, but if you believe your own BS, you're a much more convincing salesman. Self-deception is basically a social superpower.
And there's actually a cool psychology term for this, benefactance. It's this built-in tendency we all have to see ourselves as being both beneficial, good for the team, and effective, good at what we do. It's like we all have a little PR agent living in our heads, working 24/7.
And you want to see how powerful this bias is? Look at this. A study looked at people who'd just been in car accidents serious enough for a police report. A whopping 90% of them rated their own driving skill as expert. This is after the crash. And for 2/3 of them, the police report officially said they were the one at fault. I mean, our belief in our own awesomeness can stare hard evidence right in the face and not even blink.
Okay, so if the CEO isn't there, then who the heck is in charge? To figure that out, we need a whole new way of thinking about the mind. So forget the CEO in the corner office. Let's start thinking about it more like a loud, chaotic parliament of minds.
So, the old model, the one that just feels right, is the CEO self. One boss, one commander. The new model, the one backed up by all this science, is called the modular mind. Let's unpack what that actually means.
Right. So throw out any idea of a neat, tidy org chart. The neuroscientist Michael Gazzaniga, who did those split brain studies, describes the mind as a free-for-all. It's this messy collection of thousands of different specialized parts or modules, all competing and fighting for control, and almost none of this happens where you can see it, in your conscious mind.
And this gives us a much better metaphor. Your conscious self? It's not the president sitting in the Oval Office making all the big decisions. It's more like the Speaker of the House. It just kind of presides over all the shouting and debating between the different modules. It waits to see which argument wins the vote, and then it bangs the gavel and announces the final decision to the public as if it was its own brilliant idea from the start. Look, realizing you're not actually the king of your own mind, that can be a little unsettling, maybe even terrifying. But what if it's not actually about losing power? What if realizing the CEO's office is empty? What if seeing that illusion for what it is the actual first step toward gaining any real control in the first place?